You said C screenshot. There was no
I know. I'm dealing with. I'm trying to do tackles on this thing.
I think everything else is taken care of for now. But
7011A.
yeah, well, I gave you an ad code for 7011P.
Oh, that one.
I need a prereq challenge for
Okay.
7011A because you can't use the ad code until I have that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you can just email it to me. If you could do it tonight, it'd be great because I'm.
Yes.
I sent everything else over today.
Okay.
Is it not big enough, Heather?
Yeah.
Just like, wait, you're looking at like checking your glasses. I'm like,
And you are correct.
dang.
Sunday.
All right.
Get out my monocle.
Stop the ad, but I can-
What's that?
So it's the pre-record challenge, not a quick. Yeah, challenge.
prereq challenge
All
for 7011A.
Right.
And then this, and then the 7411, or yeah, 7411, you're staying in.
Yes.
Okay. That's why I said that.
Super.
But making sure you are. Stay in there. Good job, right?
Yes.
How's that going so far?
That's great.
Yeah, it's a good class. A lot of stuff.
You're gonna go. I see you.
I see you.
You're gonna go. You know, you got to do you.
It's been fun.
It's been fun, but you got somewhere else to be,
Yeah.
and it's
The
not
office.
here. The office.
See you later.
See ya. I'm still not ready to do the roll thing by I'm getting about 10% of you by who I know who you are. I see your face. I go, oh, you're here. And then the rest is like, of course, the room is mostly empty. So yes.
I feel like high school teacher.
Yeah, well, that was a real eye opener when I had to remember 100 names in a few, just a few short weeks. And it took, I mean, and in that, what was really vexing was I have identical twins in 2 different classes. And the first day of school was really, I mean, I'm like, what are you doing back here? And and he said, no, I'm in this class. And I'm like, well, you're doppelgangers at this school. And everybody cracked up because they all knew the joke. And I was like, I'd never seen these kids before. Why is that one not on?
I wonder if it was down today.
Is it down?
Yeah. I tried turning it off.
I don't accept that. Come on, Sharp.
Unplugging it.
We paid how much for this? I mean, look how big this dang thing is. It's ridiculous. It is kind of, yeah, it should be. I bet you if I unplug like this.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Got it, red-handed. Totally red-handed. Dang it, yeah, oh. Hey, boot. Boot, you little screen. Your enormous plot of LCD goodness. I love technology. All right, well, I guess you guys do with that. You're going to look at a Sharp logo all day. Nothing new there. I'm sure more experienced people than I have been coming into troubleshoot. Where are we at? I got 3 minutes. Oh, I know what I'll do. I will divulge the USB drives of doom. Okay. All right, so the secret decoder ring is relatively easy this semester. I've only added like people who show up or who added late, like Peter, are out of order, but most of the rest of you just kind of grab the number that's on the list, and it is
same number we had last
No.
time?
Well, yeah, last class, yeah. That's the same number as that. So let me belch these out onto the counter, and then you guys can come grab. But you can always write down, or if you don't remember what number your little drive is, you can ask me, and I will have this decoder ring. It's in a Google Doc on my Google Drive with the Google this and that that says who you are and what you got. So there are 23 of you in this class. Mad props for using the hand sanitizer. Yeah, I know. It's like, that's a high school staple. I've got like a quart size, pump thing of that where kids walk in, they're like, can I touch anything on your desk? I'm like, no, don't touch anything at all. Because otherwise I'm doomed to be sick for the rest of my days. All right, so the USB keys are out. Go ahead and find yours.
Nice. The sheet up here, crucial.
Yeah.
That was one off.
Yeah, you're 21. I believe I got it too.
Do you want me to put it somewhere?
Yeah, you can put it face down or back or up here at the top. It's like if you're done loading it, that's fine. I know, trying to keep it all straight so that people aren't. You're 23.
Oh.
Since,
Oh, super.
yeah,
Okay.
the value of being the last person to add the class.
When we're done, do we put them in the same place?
I used to have a little tray, but yeah, just put them up here. I'll sort them when I get face down up top, and then you'll be good to go. So yeah, you guys are going to enjoy the fact that I'm wearing my high school T-shirt today.
I think I'm
So,
number 20, right? Here it is.
Should say.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thank you.
Yep, number 20. Yes, I am. So you're probably gonna go napping.
Nope, I'm going to the back.
You're like going to the back.
Put them face down.
Sure, why not? At least that way I know they're turned in. If you just walk up and flip yours over, I wouldn't know the difference. But then when I download it, I'm like, hey, what happened to... All right. So let's see. We've got a few more of you here. Heather Alvarado. There you are in the back. Alan. Here. Okay. David. Yes. Julian. All right. Alex, I saw you walk in. Logan. All right. Celine. There you are. Thank you. Stora. Thank you. Lana.
Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
Elliot Lane. Yep. Saw you. Okay. Lucas. Lucas McCormick. No? Okay. I saw Elliot Murphy. Yes. Yeah. You were here early. And Heather. Yeah. And Lariva. See, I got people. I know people are here. Wiley? No? Did I blow it already? All right.
That was a solid pronunciation.
Solid. That time it was solid. Okay, well, at least I'm learning. Colin. There you are. Quansiva. Did I rock it?
Yeah.
Yes! 3 weeks. Boom. All right. Naomi.
Yes, sir.
Josh. There you are. And Ben. Okay. So I am actually happy with myself on that one because I was looking at it going, Quansiva. I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna get it right. Okay. So it's the little things, man. When you got, when your life is like this, you celebrate anything you can. All right. Okay. So if you haven't already, you should be logging into the server, the Magini server, Gemini, whatever. Log in as this username and password. Obviously, if you are watching the stream, you have no access to this, so tough luck. Find the CS74.21C folder. Inside of it, you're going to find in-class materials, and underneath that will be week 3. There's a bunch of folders in there. Download them to your desktop. Second, also under CS74.21C, you will find a folder called Semester Project. You need to download that as well to your external USB drive because that is the semester project for you. All right, Lucas.
Sorry.
No problem.
Elevator is broken.
You were stuck in the elevator?
Kind of.
Oh,
I
that
was
sucks.
I didn't get stuck in it. It just like wouldn't go up.
It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, they got
So I,
okay.
sat there,
I won't say they got stairs, but all right, that's fine.
Well, that's what I ended up using. But
Sweet. The elevators are scary. I still ride them though, because I figure if I get stuck, who's gonna stop? Who's gonna put the class on?
The stairs can be scary too.
The stairs. Well,
Wow, at least we're all on the same team.
that's right. Cool. So set about doing those 2 tasks here while we get started, and we will. Yeah, let's move along. So I'm going to forward the slide. So this week, I've reformatted the slide to fit the glorious widescreen nature of our new audio-visual system in the room. And so happy to see that. Wiley, you're here. Thumbs up. See, I got it right, didn't I? Super cool. All right, I'm so happy. Everyone's here, and I got all of the pronunciations right. So this week, we're going to talk about sound effects, and we're going to kind of revisit some of the topics we talked about last week in terms of the sound capabilities of both Premiere Pro and Adobe Audition. And then we'll have a little in-class fun. That's what those folders that you're downloading from the in-class stuff. This was we'll get to it, but the exercise that I'm going to have you guys do today was one that I did when I was in film school. And for the fact that there's no visuals involved, it's actually surprisingly fun. So this week, semester project is now ready for you. And we'll go into what that entails in more detail. Then we're going to talk about comparing the multi-track audio capabilities, Premiere Pro and Audition. We did touch on that a little bit, especially where we were talking about the essential sound panel in Premiere Pro and in Audition, and starting to move projects back and forth between the two. Well, this will be my first real talk about the evils of dynamic linking, but we'll get to that. Finding sound effects, okay? Finding the materials. Where do you find these sorts of things? Then we'll talk a little bit about recording your own, placing and editing, spotting for sound, and then we'll do our little in-class exercise. So that's what's in store for us today. What I didn't put on this list is that I am going to go through some questions from last week. So before we careen into talking about the semester project, and I didn't have the time, take the time to put these up on screen, but I will read them, mostly because there was a couple of duplicates, a couple of ones that I can kind of tweak to fit the topic of sound editing. So first off, let's talk about the process itself. So it says, when editing a project with the most efficient workflow to edit all of the audio at the project at the end of the final video edit, or edit audio as you go, with air quotes around it, until both audio and video edits are both complete. It is my considered opinion that the best workflow that you can hope for is to do almost all of your video edit till it's locked, and then send that off to be, or then proceed to work on, send it off, proceed to work on the audio edit, with the understanding that sometimes there will be tweaks and changes. The idea, though, is that when you start to work in the audio realm, you want picture to be set. You don't want to be adding frames or removing frames from video, from picture, because the minute you do that, there's a cascading problem in the audio, because your audio files were set at a certain time index. And if you push your audio in the editor, it's easy to just basically do a ripple and add frames or remove frames, and it will push and pull all of the audio and other video files or clips in Premiere to make that time up. In Audition, though, it's not as, there's no connection from Premiere to Audition for that. And so it gets messy quick. So the best possible workflow will be one where you lock picture. You don't make any more edits to picture. You're satisfied with it, and then you go work on sound. Inevitably, what you're going to find is that you might have some tweaks. You might cut a few frames. You might cut a whole scene, which would be terrible, but you could. And then you're going to have to go into your audio edit, and you're going to have to cut that time index out by hand, because there's just no easy way to conform the two environments. This is not a new problem. This is a problem that has existed as long as online editing has been around. So there you go. Does the order of how you do these different techniques in the homework, meaning EQ, noise reduction, sound removal, does that make any difference when you how your project turns out? Meaning the order of using those. And the short answer is yes, but it's also the point of the homework was to generally find the right tool for the job. So if you're looking to remove some broadband noise, like a hiss or a hum or an air conditioner or a refrigerator or some other thing like that that's got a relatively wide spectrum of noise that you want to remove, the noise reduction is going to be the best thing. If it's a very complicated sound that has varying tones and varying frequencies and it comes and goes, then the sound remover is probably a better choice for that. If it is a single frequency range, or if it is dealing with like the plosives exercise where you're trying to deal with transient waves of sound, and you just want to clip those to a reasonable level, then using the tools that are either in the EQ bin or in the effects that you guys worked on. I don't remember off the top of my head what they're called, but so dealing with that is going to be the right tool for the job. So that's why we showed those different components. The order in which you do them, if you were to do them in different orders, you would get different results. That's the short answer. Because each of those three techniques is destructive. So once you've modified the audio file with one technique, then how you apply the second technique is going to be different, because the sound file is not the same now. It's different. So there you go. This was an interesting one. When using noise reduction, what's the point of the yellow, green, and red dots that look at the scatter plot? I don't have a great screenshot of this, but when you look at the red, green, and when you look at the noise reduction, let me bring it up. I'm going to do that. I'll bring it up. Because waving my hands at this is not going to work. But when you're looking at the sound files, really? Sure. So let me bring up a sound file real quick for you guys to take a look at. JC, hello. There we go. It would be under class 2, wouldn't it? Okay, so we bring up the waveform, and this one is, actually, this one has just a little bit of air conditioner noise in the background, and then me saying some words. I think it's room tone. Room tone. Yeah. Room tone. Well, actually, let me pull up a different one. So this one's going to be a little more interesting. Is that when you look at the noise print for a given sound, capture noise print, okay, and then you go back and you process noise reduction. These are the actual highs and lows of the noise in that. So that's actually looking like in a frequency, from a frequency perspective, it says from low frequencies to high frequencies. These are the high and low points of the noise print that was made. Okay. Or sorry, yellow is the red and green is the threshold. So the threshold is actually what you're going to reduce. So now you're looking at the yellow, which is the high end of the noise, the red, which is the low end, and then this is the part that you're actually going to reduce, or the threshold that you're going to work at reducing. Okay, so it's a visual indicator. Generally speaking, if you want to remove all noise, you'll see that it goes all the way to the green, overlaps the yellow, and if you take it all the way to 0, green overlaps the red. Okay, so you can't remove more than the noise floor of the noise print that you've put. So it's just what frequencies are you going to cut. So this gives you a general feeling that you're going to remove a bit more low frequencies, sorry, from the noise. And actually, once you get to this low, you get down here, it generally falls off a cliff because the recording mechanism doesn't have a frequency response really above 22,000 hertz. So that's what that noise print looks like. So it's just a visual indicator of the percentage of the noise reduction that you're going after. Okay? Okay. Good. Glad we had this caught. All right. So back to the questions. So boop and boop. And in your experience, is there any risk in keeping all of the original audio tracks in Premiere after you've re-imported the stems from Audition? Are they better off being removed? So when you round trip, and we will talk a little bit more about this process, but when you move files, when you move from Premiere to Audition and you do your work in Audition, you deal with dialogue, you deal with music, you deal with sound effects, you deal with all this stuff, and then you export from Audition back to Premiere. That process is called round tripping. When you get back to Premiere, you're going to have basically single audio files for each of your major audio categories. So you would still have you could do a mix down. People don't generally do that, but you can do a mix down of everything to a stereo or 5.1 surround mix, depending on how you roll. But you can also do what they call stems, which again we'll talk a little bit more about. But those are exports of individual audio tracks out of Audition as individual WAV files or audio files that you then re-import into Premiere, and then you place them in the audio tracks on Premiere. Now, when you do that, you'll have the existing audio tracks that were in Premiere before you went out to Audition. And so, generally speaking, the process that I've followed there is I would mute those audio tracks, or I would disable those audio clips. I wouldn't remove them, because inevitably you might find, oh, hey, we have one more tweak to make. And then now all of a sudden you've got audio files gone from your edit. And then you're having to go back to an earlier edit on your backup that you do keep backups of all your project files, right? Okay. To be able to recover and be productive again. So generally speaking, don't remove. If you disable, but don't remove. It doesn't cost you anything in the edit. As soon as you disable them, Premiere stops worrying about trying to load them or use them in its computations. So it's just, you're basically like setting a bookmark in your timeline. Yeah, this is where that audio file used to be, but don't worry about it right now. I'm not using it. So that's what the whole enable disable thing's for. Last one of note here is, will adding a female enhanced speech effect also create a specific effect if the sound clip is of a male voice? You know, the whole point of the female versus male enhanced sound effects has to do with the prevailing frequency range of the speaker. I know plenty of men who have a very high range, and so you might use a female vocal enhancer on them, and you don't tell them, but you can. I mean, there's no preference. Here's really what the point is. If you tried the female vocal enhancer on that dialogue, and it sounded better than if you used the male voice enhancer, guess which one you should use? Yeah? Okay. So that's the point. Is like, use the one that sounds best to you, and you won't go wrong. If you dogmatically say it's a guy speaking, so I have to use the male voice enhancer, you've now cut off the possibility that that other one could be better, in your opinion. So don't discount it. So there is another one on here that I wasn't going to answer, but I will. Somebody asked, is ADR really that bad? I often see ADR credits at the end of a movie. ADR is the last refuge of the insane for audio production. It's only used because the production sound was unusable. And so the best, and I've said this before and I will say it again, the best way to remove sound and remove noise from your process is never to record it in the first place. So there are other questions on here that talked about what's the best way to capture the right sound so that I don't capture noise. And that is Brian's realm of influence, not mine. I do have opinions and things. I did sound production. I did production sound for film. And it's a lot about experimentation. But generally speaking, it's close miking. It's always close mic. If you can get a mic as close as possible to the face and have it pointing at the mouth. That's the other fine thing, is that a shotgun mic that's on a boom flying overhead is worthless if it is not pointing at the mouth of the person speaking. Okay? So knowing the business end of a shotgun microphone and knowing how to point it at the mouth, you do those things. If you point it at the top of their head, that's not their mouth. If you point it behind them, that's definitely not their mouth. It has to be out in front and pointed at their mouth. It doesn't have to be above. It can be below. I've boomed under a camera and out, but as long as it's out of the camera frame and doesn't cast a shadow, it's all good, because the viewer is none the wiser. So whichever way sounds best, do it. So if it has to do, if you're going to plant a lav on somebody, make it invisible for film. If it's a documentary, doesn't matter. You know, plant a lav. If it's a doc and it's an interview, a corporate film, something like that, where they don't care if a microphone is showing, a little lav, clip it on their shirt as close to their collar as you can stomach. So, but if they have like me, they got this big old Fu Manchu thing going on, or they tend to fidget a lot, then put it down where their button line is so that they're not able to brush it. if they tend to move their hands a lot, you got to make sure they don't strike the microphone. God, I can't tell how many times you start something and then they're like, they get going and they knock something and you're like, okay, let's stop, let's reset. I'm gonna move that microphone somewhere else, and you figure it out. The most fun I've ever had is having to mic for narrative, though, because you're always trying to hide it. You're always trying to find where it's not going to be visible, and depending on costume, the temperament of the talent, and so on, you never know. So that's all I'm going to say about that, and that's probably all I'm going to say about week 2. Any other questions about last week, Evan?
Said when you're talking about stems, that's in when a sequence, export a sequence, right? Not just a clip.
Correct. Yeah. When you're moving a sequence over to audition, talk more about that tonight. But yeah.
Do when you have a clip to save it.
Mm-hmm. If you're doing a clip, you're moving. You're basically using Audition this way, where you're in the waveform editor, as opposed to multi-track, which is which looks like a sequence or a timeline sort of arrangement. Okay. So, week 2 questions. So there we are. Semester project. So this is the same or substantially similar slide from last week. It's the project is designed to be used by you for the semester to demonstrate your skills on for all the different categories of stuff. There again on the Canvas, this goes into much more detail. I'm not going to go again through this. If you really want to relive the magic, go back to last week's lecture and play it. Okay. But what we will do is we will play, we'll look at what the finished project could look like. And then we're going to open the project in Premiere and have a look at what it actually is now. Okay? So let me bring that up for you. Come on. Go, little monkeys. Ooh. So don't mind my fantastic. Okay, so this comes with the obvious caveat of it's okay, so the first lesson is don't ever submit a film for a film festival and put this god-awful film leader at the front of it, okay? Because they're just going to tell you, hey, can you give us a video? Can you give us the film without this leader? And so I'm going to officially skip ahead 10 seconds and clear that. And then, yeah, so let's go full screen here and we'll take a look. That's not full screen. Where is it?
It's the very top option.
Oh, enter full. You're right. Command. All right. Here we go.
Raw milk is milk directly out of the cow, unprocessed in any way. There was a moment that changed me from an organic pasteurized area where the milk is sent off by truckload to be pasteurized to be my own creamery and my own bottle. In my own raw milk. There was a moment. we started having people show up at our dairy saying, we want your milk raw. I bought a bunch of ice chests and we packed a bunch of raw milk out of our bulk tank and drove it down to Los Angeles to a place that wanted raw milk. I was getting calls on my cell phone saying, reserve me 5 gallons, reserve me 10 gallons. It was like 150 half gallons of raw milk. That was literally bargained for on the way to LA in 3 hours. And it was an awakening me that I was talking directly to somebody who wanted the product from me. It wasn't the creamery, and these people were paying good money for this product. And that awakening was a real person talking to the farmer saying, I want your product, I don't care what it costs. Changed my life in terms of organic and raw milk. On November 15th, we were visited by a multi-agency task force. They came in and basically said we had 5 kids sickened throughout the state. What's really sad and hard on us is we don't have any details because the investigators won't tell us the details. So you're left with imagining the worst case scenario. The state's not letting you put milk back on the shelf. You're losing $20,000 a day. You got 65 employees or whenever they're going to have a job. Those kinds of things going on as well. It's a very sobering, tough place to be. Two of the 5 kids came from one family, and those 2 kids were the ones who were sick the most. And we find out now that in fact her children did not drink fresh raw milk with low bacteria count. They actually drank a fermented form, which I have no idea what that potion turned out being, because if you ferment improperly, you can get a flurry of E. coli and all kinds of things. And that changed everything for me. And we're just glad the kids are well. Raw milk is not listed in the 10 top risky foods in America. Number 1 is leafy greens. Right at the top is processed meats. Then you've got number 4 or 5, it's ice cream and cheese. Pasteurized ice cream and cheese. Raw milk's nowhere in the top 10. You look at oysters, killed 14 people last year. Cantaloupe, 30 people last year. Spinach, 3 people a couple of years ago. Pasteurized milk in 2007, 3 people died in Massachusetts. When was the last time anybody died from raw milk? It was prior to 1973 when the CDC even started collecting the data. I have a level of responsibility for our customers. I have a level of responsibility to our employees, to my family, to the business, to the raw milk movement, to be a good example. Industry would like us to be gone. We are bad news to industry and processors. The FDA doesn't like me. So they wish every day, they dream every night that organic pasture today would disappear from the earth permanently. The cantaloupe growers didn't give up. The lettuce growers didn't give up. Pasteurized people don't give up. If you gave up as a food producer in America, if everybody got sick, you'd have no food to eat.
All right. It's okay. You can hold your applause for me. No. So, anyway, the other lesson from this, let me turn this down, is the lesson from this is don't do overly stylized end credits. This is, God, I look at this and I just kind of face palm through the whole thing. I was sowing my motion graphics oats here with the end credits and going, oh, look at all the cool things I can do with it, and whatever. Okay, so yeah, it's over. Good. Let's move on. So that is what actually went out to film festivals. What you guys are going to have an opportunity to work with is that same film with all of the goodie bits stripped out. So that includes what's been removed from it. Audio mix has been basically reset to the default. So it's like the default levels for the music files that were imported, the default levels for the dialogue or the interview that was shot, the default levels for the B-roll production sound. They're all the way they were shot, and they're just dropped into the sequence. The picture is exactly the same. I've not added or removed a single frame of video from what you saw there from what's in the project. The difference here is that project, as it was shown to you, was edited in Final Cut 7, as I think I mentioned this last week. So I had to export the sequence out of Final Cut 7, bring it into Premiere, and then go to work on trying to get this. Man, I love the speed it with, and I love also that it gives us that fine intro every single time we boot the computer now. So I'm going to open the project on the disk. So I will open my version of this. But this is the same version that I copied to the server. So notice that it's locating. No. So when we take a look at it, you'll see the differences will be pretty. Well, actually, I'm going to have to turn off the lights again so you can kind of see the projector in here. And then I'm going to hit the back tick here for the sequence. Now you can see the entire sequence is showing from beginning to end. Runtime is just under 7 minutes. I did remove all of the pre-roll, my production company, the school's logo, all of that stuff is not in this. It just starts from beginning of the film. So when you get over here, you'll hear, and I've turned down the volume so you won't be too overdriven, but this is what you guys have on the server. Notice that all of the opening titles have an embarrassing watermark on them now. Because part of it was that what I found in previous classes is that some students would just use the titles thinking that, oh, those titles are good enough. I'm like, yeah, of course they are. But you guys going to do titles, right? Okay, great. The important thing to get out of this, though, is what are we looking at here? So you'll see that there is, again, all the motion graphics have example on it. In fact, everything that I've edited as motion graphics has that. So the bottom third for Mark McAfee is going to have that same watermark on it. The news clip from, or the press release about the closure, the quarantine, is got that on it. The amazing motion graphic. In fact, this one was one that I redid without the numbers, but it started using little, people figures to give a little more impact as to what the numbers meant in terms of actual deaths. So when you run through this, you'll see. So the other thing that you might not get out of this is he's talking, but all you hear is the music. Okay, so The audio mix has significant work that needs to be done. Okay, so you guys will have an opportunity to do motion graphics and end credits. Notice that I actually, simplified the end credits this time, so they're less embarrassing. I remade the end credits because I was so embarrassed about that. Yes.
Basically, you're already giving us the file that's put together. We're just adjusting certain parts that you want us to fix.
Yeah, you're finishing the film. And that is the project. That is what the semester is about. The semester is not about recutting picture. It's not about adding or removing footage. It is about finishing the film. Basically taking the opening sequence without any of this. So if I turn that track off that has all of the motion graphics and other stuff is in this one track. If I turn that visibility off, you'll see that it just starts with this. This is the introduction to the film. So you'll need to come up with an intro sequence, okay? Introducing the film. You can rename the film. I've had some really stunning interpretations of what this film is about. Raw Milk Dude and every iteration thereof, enjoy yourselves. I will laugh, and that's probably a good thing. It'll never see the light of day outside my class, and that's another good thing. That's one. The other is, so you're going to create a lower third. I will have to get you guys the PDF, either a PDF of this or the website where this press release was posted. I pulled it off a website, and I did the most. Let's face it, this is about the most uninspired motion graphics you could possibly get away with. But realistically, I wanted to have like the headlines. The headline was really what mattered, and the dateline was the two things that I cared about. So I could have reformatted this to look more like a newspaper and put organic pastures shut down November 11th, 2011. Or November 15th, 2011. So, that's subject to your creative whim. When you get to this part, this is the big one. This is really this is where you'll spend a fair bit of time with motion graphics. So, you do not need to moment for moment redo this, but he's talking statistics. If you turn this off, what do you see is just him talking about statistics. So it's just black screen. So here, I'll turn off. I will spare us the. I'll mute the music tracks.
Hello, 30 people. Finished 3 people a couple years ago. Pasteurized milk in 2007, 3 people died in Massachusetts. When was the last time anybody died from raw milk? Prior to 1973, and the CDC even started collecting the data.
So what you'll notice is that the other thing that if you were to spend time analyzing this, you'll see that actually his interview, and if you notice his speaking style, he talks super fast. This guy was moving at a mile a minute. And I was recording this interview, and I had that little voice in the back of my head saying, I should stop this and tell him to slow down. And I didn't. So I got what I got. And so when it came time to cut this, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to slow this guy down? And I literally had to take 5 words at a time and then give 5 seconds. So what you'll notice is that from there to there, it's basically, I just added like a half second of nothing between when he finished one sentence and when he started the very next sentence. When he re-recorded it, that was right on top of the other. So there's some craft in how you spread these things out. But again, that's not this class, okay? This class is not moving this around. I don't want, in fact, the best case scenario would be you just lock these and you don't touch them. But you're going to, because you're going to be doing different things to them. You're going to be modifying the volume levels. You're going to be adding effects. You're going to be dealing with the fact that, you know, audio comes and goes without any kind of room tone or background or anything like that. And how are you going to deal with that? I'm not positive that I provided you room tone. In fact, I'm pretty sure I haven't. So how do you deal with that? Okay, so this is the job. The job is you get to build all of those motion graphics, and you will use you're going to use After Effects for all of that, because you can't do motion graphics like this and have them look good. I mean, could you do them in Premiere? Maybe, but the pain and suffering of doing them in Premiere is not worth it when you can easily use the facilities of After Effects to do that. So, okay. All right, so this is what you guys have. You know, you're free to enjoy yourselves with watching it again and again and again and again, because that's what I do. 5 years in and I'm still watching the damn thing. So, yes.
So if we haven't used After Effects before, we're just going to go on our own? And
No, yeah, I'm going to show you how to do all of the things that you're going to do. Don't worry. Yeah, we'll get to that. It's just we're not there yet. So the things that you start working on now this week are going to be audio related, because guess what we're talking about? We've been talking about audio. So the first things that I want you to work on are audio related. Basically, because and you get the benefit of knowing that there's no additional picture being added to this. So you can take this project into Audition and you can start to work in it there in this way, and you'll be able to be productive. So the things that we're going to talk about tonight are the things you're going to want to start working on. So without any further ado, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Okay. Said, quick, Randy, play a video. I already played that. Okay. Okay, back to multi-track. So let's talk now, and we've got 7:45. Let's see how I can get through this. Multi-track audio. We've talked a bit about this from last week, okay, in terms of the similarities between Premiere Pro and Adobe Audition, to the point of, in fact, what I'm going to do for expediency is I'm going to send this. Oh, that's right. I have this selected. Edit sequence. I'm going to move this over to Adobe Audition and open it there. So once it's done, it will do that. In the meantime, we'll talk. So generally speaking, there's more. No, really, we'll talk. Okay. Generally speaking, there's more similarities than differences in between how Premiere Pro functions with audio and Audition, okay? And that's even more so with the advent of the Essential Sound panel that they have, is that those effects now actually translate. Those effects move across from Premiere to Audition. It used to not be that way. It used to be, and in fact, we'll talk about why you do or don't do it that way. But there are, you know, simple. There's just more similarities. Simple projects, though, can be mastered in Premiere Pro. You can do everything in Premiere. You don't have to move a whole multi-track project into Audition to do it, unless it's more complicated. If there's lots of speaking parts, there's multiple scenes, there's multiple there's a room full of microphones that you're using, or there's challenges, there's a lot of sound issues, there's lots of noise that needs to be nuanced or either removed, or sound removal, or you know, EQ turns and stuff like that beyond what the capabilities of Premiere. And then so the things to be more complex projects should be moved to a digital audio workstation. and Audition does qualify as one of those. It is not the industry leader, but it's capable. And so that's the good news, is that it is a capable. And every time they do a release, it's getting better. It's never going to probably catch up with the industry leader, which is called Pro Tools. But you know, if you can work in Audition successfully, you can, with some coaching and mentoring, move into Pro Tools if that's where you want to go with your post-production experience. Your mileage may vary. So we'll talk about how to export and then how to re-import, which is that round trip problem. So similarities. The audio track channel strips, you'll notice, and we'll show you in a moment, that Audition has more. Automation, keyframes work very similarly between the two. You have in mixers, you still have the same mixers. You have submixes, effects, and then you have sends, which again, we don't really talk much about. It's the ability to route sound from one set of tracks to another. And then finally, you have a master mix that is either mono, stereo, 5.1, 7.1, blah, blah, 8.1, 12.1. I don't know how many damn speakers they've got now. But you can do you master the mix down to some number of channels that you will export. Differences, which we will go into when we start going flipping, flopping between them. So debatably, there are more tracks in Audition than you can have in Premiere. I have not gotten to the point of, I tried this experiment once, I haven't tried it again, where I tried adding tracks and keep adding tracks. And both Premiere and Audition let you do it. Premiere slows down faster. So, but again, as soon as you start putting things in those audio tracks, I'm sure it'll slow down a lot faster for both. But theoretically, there's no limit to the number of tracks. It's limited only by how much memory you stuff in your computer. You do have track colors and grouping. Actually, I believe Premiere has added this ability as well, where you can color tracks. Grouping is not quite as, I still think grouping is something that is unique to Audition. You have more effects. You have a lot more effects. And many of them are of better quality. You also have the processed effects, which is what we talked about last week, the sound remover, the noise reduction. This would be versus what they would call, with air quotes again, real-time effects. And these are ones that you can turn on and off instantaneously while the audio is playing. And there's no interruption in how the sound is played back to you. Track bouncing and down mixing, these are definitely digital audio workstation terms that you never see used in a nonlinear editor. We don't talk about bouncing tracks from one track to another, whereas in digital audio workstations, Audition does include this, where you can basically, you would take a set of tracks and then you'd mix them down and then put the resulting mix into a new track. And then finally, generating stubs, which is definitely something that Premiere doesn't do. Though I guess you probably could find a way to muscle it into shape to produce them, but why would you? Because that's not the tool. It's using the tool for what it's not designed to be used for. Okay. Next, now, again, I'm going to go through all of these, so I'll move a little faster here. So how to import into Audition. Generally speaking, the way that we've done it in the past is we export from Premiere using a file format called OMF. The other option is to use this dynamic linking where you send the sequence to Audition, and it is you literally open the project in Audition. You open the Premiere Pro project in Audition, and then you can start to work on it. There's this, but because and this is my editorializing, but if I have a bully pulpit, I get to use it once in a while. This is my first slide on the evils of Adobe dynamic linking. The problems I've run into in the past with this is that it is not terribly compatible. Okay, so what'll happen is that if there's any version disparity between one of them and the other, so if you have, they have to both be the same version, major version at least, and I'm almost certain minor version counts as well, between Premiere and Audition. So you can't take Audition CC 2017 or 2017.1 and then dynamically link or send to that from Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro 2018 will just, if you don't have Audition 2018 loaded, installed, then that option under the edit menu will never light up for you. It will always be gray. And you will wonder, you will sit there and go, but Randy, it worked for you. And I'll be like, is your version the same? And then you go check it, you'll be like, oh, look, it isn't. And I'll be like, well, there you go. And if the number of times it's happened to me, it's yeah. And it's vexing, I guarantee you. If the link gets corrupted, you're screwed. If that link breaks for any reason, you basically don't have any recourse. Generally it is a function of the project file itself. Sometimes these project files are actually text files. PROJ, right? The proj files that Premiere makes, those are XML files. They're text files. If you know what you're doing, you can open them up and look at them, and you're like, wow, that's an XML file. The trouble is that if you go in and touch it, bad things happen. And I mean, here be dragons sort of talk. You don't want to mess with them. If the project file gets renamed, sometimes you're going to be screwed by that. Okay. So if any part of this delicate balance between one app and the other is interrupted, whether you move, sometimes if your media files get moved, that'll happen. That can cause it to break too. So hopefully you will approach this technique with caution, because I want you to be successful. I think the good news from the point of view of sending sequences from Premiere to Audition and opening them in Audition as that original proj file is that you can immediately save it as the Audition native format, the SESX format, and then you're good. Okay, as soon as you do that, you're in better shape. So we'll talk about that one in a moment. So the alternative is to do an OMF. Again, you would, and how you do that in Premiere is a little fun. You would take your sequence, you go to export, and there it is. Okay, you have an OMF. I think the other one that you can export is AAF. I wouldn't use that one if you put a gun to my head though. So if you go to OMF, you can actually save the file off. What this will do is it's actually going to take the audio from all of your audio tracks and pull them into discrete audio files. So if these were originally, like the interview audio was, in my case, it was actually dual system. So I mean, I recorded separate sound and picture. But if you were recording to camera, your interview, it would peel just the audio files off of that interview and export them to separate files. And then that would be packaged up into this file called a .omf file. And then you'd hand that off. The idea of OMF was that it was a format that you could put on a disk and hand to a sound editor, and they would have everything they needed. Okay? If you're a lone wolf and you're working by yourself on these projects, OMF is not the most valuable to you, but it's available. So I do still suggest that you learn what this looks like. You can copy complete audio files. There's basically embed audio basically means that it's going to bundle the audio files into this .omf file. It's going to be huge, might be multiple gigabytes in size. But the good news about audio files is, generally speaking, they're smaller than video files. So there you go. Any questions on this? Naomi?
So you can use OMF for transferring files to other computers.
Yes, you can use OMF to transfer this to Final Cut Pro. Yes, you could do it there. You could also do it to Pro Tools. All of those are options. So
instead of exporting something like a WAV file, get on the
right, because what it's going to do is it's going to package up all of the audio as WAV files, and then bundle them into a single container, and then that's what you're going to hand off to them, and then they're going to import it into their audio workstation, and it will unbundle all of that stuff and then lay it out.
But it's only
It's only audio. Yeah, it's not going to send video at all. Notice that there's no, where do I do with video? You don't. You can send a video render of your, or you can send like a scaled down version of your picture, and then that's a sidecar file that they can load separately once they've installed the OMF, and it will come up and they can see picture. And if you're smart, you'll burn timecode onto your picture, but that's another matter. We don't talk about timecode much in this class. Okay, so I'm not going to go much further with that because, like I said, I think for the purposes of this class, I'm going to suggest, I'm grudgingly suggest that you're going to use this send to Audition for now as your vehicle to move audio from Premiere to Audition for work. Okay, then once it's in, you'll start producing your multi-track audio. You'll use mixers and submixes. You'll add fades, you add room tone, add effects. You'll automate your tracks, and you'll master the mix, and then you'll write out either stubs or a mix down. So, all right, so let's take a moment here to talk about what we've just talked about. So notice that we have down here, if I look at my audio and I zoom this in, okay, so here I've got, and I went through the trouble of just renaming these. So this says Interview Boom, this says Interview Lav, this says B-roll audio, and this is all B-roll. This is production audio from the B-roll. Music 1 and Music 2, because I actually had 2 music tracks. I don't know why. I think because I wanted to be able to crossfade between them at my own rate originally. So this is in Premiere. This is what it looks like in Premiere. And when you switch to Audition, this is kind of what it looks like in Audition. And so it's similar, right? So you've got your Interview Boom, Interview Lav, B-roll audio, Music 1, Music 2, and Master. So all of the same files have been brought in the same location. So that's the good news. The notice up here that actually the tab says semester project final cut or fine cut .proj. Okay, so you're looking at a final, or you're looking at a Premiere Pro project file. Your first act should be to save as, and then save it as the local SESX, which is the session XML file for Audition. Whether you leave the .pr, that you can change this so it says semester project fine cut .SESX. The location is where it is. You can obviously browse to change it if that's where you want to move it to. And of course, this varies depending on which operating system you're on. And then the format you're saving is Audition. And the sample type is actually an interesting notion. They don't give you the option to change it here, but it is 48 kilohertz. So you guys know the audio format you should always record everything in, right, for film. What is it? No, nobody knows. Oh dear. No. Well, it can be WAV, it can be AIF, it could be, I wouldn't record MP3 as your production audio. That would be a bad idea. But What sample rate should you use for recording your audio? Those of you who've done production audio should know this. 24 bits is good. What's the sample rate though? That's the bit depth. I'm still not hearing it. 48,000 hertz, not 48,000 kilohertz. That's a big number. 48 kilohertz is the sample rate that you want to be using. Some other options that you will see and you should avoid at all costs is 44.1 kilohertz. A lot of prosumer recorders and even some professional ones will do that, will offer that as an option. You should shun that. Like on the Zoom recorders, they'll offer that as an option for you to record. You should avoid that. Part of the reason why 48 kilohertz works so well is that if you're shooting film or cinematic video, what's your frame rate? 24 frames, 2398. Okay, yeah, but it's basically 24 frames a second. 48 kilohertz divides nicely by 24. So you will have, for every frame of video, you'll have 200 samples of audio, 200 audio samples for every frame of video. So it's a nice, the math is nice, but it's not just that. It's also that the fidelity of the sound is increased because you can, especially higher frequency sounds or noises will have higher fidelity because this, what's the highest frequency that a 48 kilohertz sample rate can capture reliably? Evan?
18.
Well, it's more than 18.
18K.
It's basically it's half of the sample rate. So if you cut the sample rate in half, you could record 24 kilohertz sound. You won't be able to hear it. that